On January 12th, the Singapore government announced that it would form an independent committee to review the salaries of all political appointment holders, including ministers and the president. The committee is chaired by Gan Siu Ki, and this is the first time full salary review since 2017. This immediately caught public attention because Singapore already pays its ministers more than any other countries in the world. So, the real question isn't whether the number is too high, which is obvious. The real question is why Singapore designed this system so differently, and whether those reasons still make sense today. To understand this, we need to go back to 2012. In 2012, Singapore actually cut political salaries. Under the framework introduced then, the Prime Minister's salary was reduced by about 36% to roughly 2.2 million Singapore dollars a year under the norm framework. Entry-level ministers were paid around 1.1 million Singapore dollars. In 2017, the committee reviewed the system again and decided not to raise salaries. Since then, political salaries have been effectively frozen despite rising private sector benchmarks. So, why were these numbers set so high in the first place? The government usually gives three main reasons. The first is to prevent corruption. Singapore benchmarks ministers' pay to the top earners in the private sectors, then applies a roughly 40% discount. The idea is simple. If ministers are already paid very well, the temptation to accept the bribes is reduced. To be fair, Singapore's track record is strong. According to Transparency International's Corruption Perception Index, Singapore consistently ranks among the least corrupted country, but it doesn't mean high pay is the only way to achieve clean government. Denmark, for example, often ranks first on the same index. Its minister earns roughly $260,000 a year, far lower than Singapore's. New Zealand and Finland show similar patterns, very low corruption but much lower political pay. These countries rely heavily on strict transparency rules and independent media, not just salary levels. So, while high pay may help reduce corruption risk, it's clear not a necessary condition for clean governance. The second justification is attracting top talent from the private sector. The argument is that capable professionals often earn millions in private sector. If Singapore wants competent people to step into government, it needs to offer competitive pay. This argument sounds reasonable, but think about it. If someone is earning $10 million a year, even Prime Minister's salary represents a massive pay cut. For people who prioritize income, public office will never make financial sense. So in practice, this system doesn't attract the ultra-rich private sector elite. It mainly attracts highly competent upper-middle professionals, people who are successful but not at very top of the income ladder. Let's be honest, money alone doesn't explain why people choose to serve. This brings us to a counter-example. Regardless of what you think of Donald Trump politically, one fact is clear. He did not keep his presidential salary. The US president is paid about $400,000 a year, and Trump donated his salary throughout his term. He was already wealthy, and serving as a president means significant personal and financial sacrifice. He wasn't the only one. Presidents like Herbert Hoover and Kennedy also donate their salaries. The point here isn't to praise anyone, it's to show that for some leaders, money is not the primary motivation. Legacy or a sense of duty can matter more than the pay. The third justification for Singapore's high salaries is perhaps the strongest one: no moonlighting. Singapore ministers are not allowed to hold paid outside jobs or earn income from speeches while in office. Their salary is their only income. In contrast, the politicians in the countries like the UK or US can earn substantial incomes through books, speeches, and post office careers. Singapore chose a different model: lock down external income and minimize conflicts of interest as much as possible. Personal view is this: I don't mind leaders being well paid if the system delivers results and remain fair. If salaries are reviewed after more than a decade, it's reasonable for the public to ask for clearer performance links and parallel investments in vulnerable groups. Something as simple as free school lunches for students who need them. This salary review should be more about whether the system still reflects the value today, whether elite compensation is balanced with care for the rest of the society.